What's up, guys? This is Sam Talks About Games, and today I'm going to be talking about the future of 2D Metroid. So, overall, I think 2D Metroid is going to still be a thing because Metroid Dread sold over 3 million, which is more than the next best selling Metroid game, which would be Metroid Prime on the GameCube, which sold under 3 million. Metroid Dread, being a 2D game, was a very, very large success. There's very few 2D games who can sell that much. You know, you have 2D Mario and stuff like that, which sell tens of millions, but other than that, 2D games tend to be niche, and it doesn't look like Metroid is super niche anymore. So I think it's safe to assume that we're going to get more. And the reason I say what's next for 2D Metroid is because it could go in several different directions. They could do a re-release of Samus Returns from the 3DS. They could do Super Metroid Remake, etc. So I see them going in multiple avenues for the next 2D Metroid game, and I feel like all of it's going to happen at some point, but first off, I'll start with a Samus Returns HD port. Second off, Super Metroid Remake. Third off, Metroid 6, which would be the sequel to Metroid Dread, or the start of a new arc. I don't see them remaking Fusion before they remake Super Metroid. I don't think that would make sense. It could happen, but I just don't think it would make sense. They've been remaking them in chronological order to start with. I think they're going to continue that way. Or a fourth option is a remake of Metroid 1. Although I don't think that's going to happen because Zero Mission is one of the best 2D Metroids. It was a very good remake. So, the most likely options I see them going in are a Samus Returns HD or Metroid 6. Super Metroid Remake may be a little farther down the line. It all depends. They do have multiple teams working at Mercury Steam, but I just don't see them remaking Super Metroid in the next 3 years, right? I think it would be after the sequel to Dread, or after the Samus Returns HD port. Samus Returns HD port wouldn't require a ton of work. It would just require a little reconfiguring, clean up the textures a little bit, similar to like what they're doing with Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Metroid 6, I believe, is already in the works. I think it's going to take them about 4 years to make each new 2D Metroid game, starting with Dread. So I feel like Metroid 6 could come out in 2025, because Dread took them from 2017 to 2021. An accurate timeline would be 2025, and I imagine Metroid 6 was greenlit as soon as they saw the success of Metroid Dread. Now, Super Metroid, I don't know. Like I said, Mercury Steam does have multiple teams, but that other team right now is not working on Metroid. I feel like a Super Metroid remake is inevitable, just like a Chrono Trigger remake is, just like maybe a Final Fantasy VI remake is. I feel like all that is going to happen at some point. I just don't know if it's time yet. Nintendo usually waits a while to remake their 2D Metroid games. Mind you, when Metroid 2 was remade for 3DS, Metroid 2 came out on the Game Boy. They had like NES graphics. Now, Super Metroid at this point is pretty old as well. But I do think it's going to happen in the Switch 2 generation, just not earlier on. We shall see, though. Furthermore, I believe that a Metroid Fusion remake would soon follow a Super Metroid remake. And here's why. They're kind of both in the same spec range, and they're both in the same saga, and only those two games need to be remade out of the 2D Metroid games. We have Zero Mission, we have Metroid 2, we're good with those. Samus Returns is a good remake as well as Zero Mission. So it'd only be fair to give Metroid Fusion a remake soon after Super Metroid Remake, but no time before Super Metroid Remake. I know the argument's been made that, since Metroid Fusion connects to Dread more than Super Metroid with the X Parasites and all that would get prioritized in a remake, but I don't really think that's the case. I think they're just going to do it chronologically like they have been. Furthermore, how do I feel the next 2D Metroid's going to be like? Well, I think it's going to be a lot like Dread. Um, I think it's going to act as as Dread kind of refined the stuff from Samus Returns. Dread 2 or Metroid 6 or however you want to refer it is going to refine stuff from Dread. It's going to be a different game, different map, all that. I just feel like the gameplay is going to be similar, but far improved, similar to how, Horizon Forbidden West, Zero Dawn, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Metroid Dread, Samus Returns. You get my gist, right? It's going to be a different story, probably a new arc. The current arc is closed, the Metroid arc. So, whatever it's going to be story-wise and all that, it's going to be completely new. I imagine the visuals will be detailed a little more as well, because this will be on Switch 2 in 2025. Because I believe Switch 2 is coming out next year. I'm not completely sure when, but it will be next year. I'm still kind of deciding on if I think it's going to come out in the summer or later next year. There's conflicting reports. At this point, I see a March to May release unlikely, but, never say never. But yeah, that aside, I think Dread 2 is going to be similar to Dread, or Metroid 6, or however you want to refer it. I think it's going to have a similar structure. Samus is going to get her abilities taken. I feel like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I feel like that's exactly what they're going to do with Metroid 6. And I'm very, very excited for it. But now let me talk a little bit more about the potential of a Super Metroid remake when that does come. I feel like it could be more than just a remake. We've seen a trend recently, not with Nintendo so much, but we've seen a trend recently with other, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy. Their remakes are a little bit reimaginings. Now, I feel like Super Metroid could, with increased power, connect the areas even more. I feel like there could be zero loading times. And I think that would help the immersion in the game very, very much. But that remains to be seen. This is all just speculation, I don't have any information to go on. But yeah, those are my 2 cents on what's next for 2D Metroid. That's about it. That's it.